Hello and welcome to Gamers Remorse. In this episode, we are playing the game Lost Cities. It is a game for 2 players, each going on 5 different expeditions. The players have the choice of going on the expeditions by gaining cards. Everyone starts out with 8 cards in the beginning. So there are 5 different types of cards, each a different color: red, green, white, blue, and yellow. And in each suit, there are 10 different types of cards. The first type is the investment card, which has a handshake marker at the top that must be played first in a row if it's going to be played at all. And then each of the subsequent types of cards are counted or numbered from 2 to 10. When players play these cards, they only need to play them in order from lowest to highest, with the investment card being first. They don't necessarily need to play all of the cards in the suit of their choice, but they do need to play them from lowest to highest, being the only rule. At the end of the game, it's totaled up how many points you have in that suit. The minimum number being 20 that you need to have added up. If you have less than 20, then it was a bad expedition and you lose points. So it's important as you play this game to try and have at least 20 points that you think you're going to get in that suit. In some cases, you don't get the 20 points and you get negative points. In the case of this investment card, you actually double your end profit out of that. And if your profit is negative, you double your negative profit, thus being a really bad expedition. So in the case of white here, what we have is a white investment with only 5 there. So 20 minus 5 is 15, and then you double that, giving you negative 30 points. Other than that, there isn't a whole lot of rules here. The game ends when your draw deck runs out. So it's important to keep an eye on that as you play the game. Anything to add?
That's about it.
That's about it. All right, let's play. So each player is dealt 8 cards, and that is 6 each. 7, 8, 8. We put the draw deck here. There's your 8 cards. There's my 8 cards. Now the rules specifically say that the oldest player should go first, that being me, but we like to alternate turns. So
we like to be nice.
Yeah. So who went first last time?
I believe that was me.
That was you. So, I guess we will follow the rule this time, and I will go first. I'm going to play an investment card first on green. And then I draw a card.
I'm going to invest in red.
Bad investment, man.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
See about that.
With sequestration happening, red's no good. Actually, red probably is good.
I like that you just brought
Yeah.
that in.
Yeah, current topics, America. Right here, right now. Gamers Remorse.
Where else do you get games and current climate of the world?
So something we learned playing early on in this game is that you don't want to spread yourself out too thin. We've noticed that as we've played, if we go all in on all of them, we end up doing a bad job, and I think we ended up with like negative 35 total. So generally you want to focus in on certain areas, and it usually helps if you don't focus on something else that another player has. Unless you know you can absolutely destroy them all. But it's important to note. So I'm going to do exactly what I told you folks at home not to do, and go for all of them.
You haven't touched red yet. You're still...
This is true. All but one of them, perhaps.
Since I do not want to play any of my cards, I'm going to discard to the middle.
So if you guys notice at home, what we're doing is we're going head-to-head on white and yellow, and what's going to happen is any card that's placed in either of these areas is going to be drawn up, unless, of course, it's a lower number than what we want. So there's an investment white card out here that neither of us are going to grab because we're past that point. It would just take up space in our hand and be a discard later and waste a perfectly good draw a card type option.
Yep.
So with that, let's continue going head-to-head.
Bring it on.
Oh!
There's still an 8 and a 10 out there somewhere.
Oh, I'm getting destroyed on white. That's what's happening.
But I've profited on white now,
Mhm.
so I know that's positive.
Right. I need at least that 8. Ideally the 10. Check this out. What? What? Not a bad investment.
Positive.
I like it. I'll take it. So I have 15 points out there. So, I mean, this is done. Our whites are done.
Yep.
Blue is the only thing really left, other than a 10 of yellow that we would go for. So, do I diminish the deck? This is ultimately the situation that you guys are going to find yourselves in. Do you diminish the deck and thereby end the game sooner, or do you try and get all of the cards out of your hand into your expeditions? Obviously, I didn't even take my advice from the beginning, which is stick with 1, 2, 3 expeditions and do well in them. Instead, I went in all of them, and I'm regretting it here. There, I'm actually okay. There, I'm okay. Surprisingly, there, I'm okay. So red and blue are really hurting right now. So, do I play a card on those or not? Actually, I did already play. I'm drawing now. So do I end the deck or get nearly to it because there's 3 cards left, or do I draw one from here? Decisions. I would really only need 5 more in red in order to make it profitable, but it means that I'm not going to be able to play another card down, which may hurt. So I'm going to draw one from here.
no other choice but to end the game.
Dun, dun, dun.
So now we add up the points, subtract the initial investment of 20, add the multipliers, which is the number of investments plus 1, and calculate the final score.
All right. Let's do that now.
So as you can see, due to the error in judgment choosing the blue and his lack of investment in some of his higher earners, Sean came out as the loser in this, which means I'm the winner. And that's mostly down to my huge investment on red, which I had pretty utter dominance. You'll notice that the lower numbers early on are clearly less important than the higher numbers coming in at the end. So you can easily win with just 7, 8, and 10, where someone else can have pretty much every other number in the sequence, especially if you play the investments properly. So, Sean, how would you rate this game?
So, I do enjoy this game, and it's quite simple to explain to someone, and it's quite simple to play. You can pick it up real quickly. The downfall is when it comes to the math side of things.
Yeah, the math was brutal.
At the end of the game, you kind of get a good idea of who won or didn't, but to figure out the exact amount, it's painful.
Yeah. There's no better way to say it other than painful.
Right. We were getting out our cell phones, calculating, okay. Yeah, I mean, you have to add up the sum, subtract 20, and then if you have an investment card, you now need to double whatever that was.
Yeah. So you have to add 1 to the investment, multiply the investment by the total.
Right. And then you need to sum up all of them together to figure out what your score was.
Yeah.
Which, okay, easy enough in writing those rules, but actually doing it, it's really quite painful.
Yeah. Now, if we had a mathematician or a whiteboard or even paper, it wouldn't be nearly as problematic.
Right.
But how many of you have mathematicians or whiteboards at your house? They probably all have paper.
Right.
We probably have paper.
Yeah. But we have cell phones, and that's what we decided to do. And it works. I mean, it's just 5 minutes of number crunching. And, oh, I forgot to carry the remainder and the Jacobian constant. Yeah. So, in the end, I'd probably give it a 6. Just because it's a lot of work to actually go through and do the calculations in the end. The artwork is okay. It's abstract. They tried to do a theme for each color that's somewhat fitting. Different places around the world. So the yellow one has kind of an Egyptian motif. The blue one has an underwater world thing. Okay, but I mean, it's just a single static image. Yeah. Actually, they're different. So.
Yeah, each card has a separate image on it to a degree. If you look at the 9 and 10 next to each other here, you can tell it's very similar.
Right. But I mean, it wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
So the artwork was a little lacking. I do like the abstract concept of it. It's fairly straightforward rules, but it all goes in the end. I have a little bit of remorse playing this game over and over and over. If one of my friends or family or whatever wanted to play this multiple times, I would start to get tired of it really quickly. I could maybe play 1 or 2 rounds, but after that, you're doing additions over and over and over. It would be nice if there was some easy way to calculate points.
Yep.
More than a complex mathematical equation.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, I'm very similar. I would give it... I'm going to be a bit more lenient. I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay.
Because I think this would be a great game for young children. If you have a younger sibling...
Who's really good at math.
Well, you'd have to do the math for them, so that'd be the negative aspect.
Right.
But, I mean, like, learning how to play it is very simple. Playing the game is very enjoyable. When you are holding 6, 7, 9, and 10 of a color... and you see the other person put down the 5, there's just this exuberance where you're like, oh man, they just messed up bad. And so I find that very enjoyable. The replay value, like you mentioned, is not super great. They mentioned in the rule book that you can do a best of 3 or 3 rounds and add your score totals together. That's more math than I want to do in a day. But there are people who love math.
It's true.
So
Math heads out there.
And if you want to play games in school, convince your math teacher to let you play this one.
There you go. All right. So what's our combined game review average then, Mr. Math?
That would be a 5.
A 5. So a half level of remorseness, you might say, a 50% level.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't your standard $60 board game. It's a small box game, so I think it's worth the money.
True. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in for this week's Gamer's Remorse. Thank you. The cards are in 5 different colors and 10 different varieties. The first variety is the handshake card, or the
Expedition.
Is that really what it's called? You're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls.
It sounded right at the time.
It did. Yep. Investment cards. Yes.
Should we start over there?
Sure.
To put my cup down.
Yes. Sure.